Earlier this year, I did a dive trip to Belize, and honestly, it was so different from what I thought it would be. Probably like many of you watching, the only thing I knew about diving in Belize was the Great Blue Hole. But how is diving the rest of Belize? In this video, I'll break down scuba diving in Belize into 4 practical chapters. That is, why dive there, when to go, where to dive in Belize, and how to plan your trip. So, let's dive in. So, why Belize, and why is the diving there so varied? Well, the answer to that is geography. Belize sits on the Caribbean coast of Central America, and just offshore is the Belize Barrier Reef, which forms part of a wider Mesoamerican reef system. This long and varied chain of keys and reef structures protects shallow seagrass beds, deeper outer walls, coral channels, and remote atolls, all within one relatively small country. And that's what makes Belize a really strong dive destination. It's not just that one dive site, it's several styles of diving in one trip. And of course, all this geographical variation means plenty of diversity. In just 1 week, I got to see nurse and Caribbean reef sharks, eagle rays, plenty of turtles, including loggerheads, moray eels, lobsters, and many times dense schools of reef fish. So when should you go diving in Belize? Well, Belize sits on the Tropic of Cancer, so the climate there is tropical and waters are warm year-round. The most popular time to visit is during the dry season, which runs generally from November to April. The weather then is just more settled, so sea conditions will be calmer and boat transfers are just generally easier. Majority of the diving in Belize is done via the boat, so that means if you are prone to seasickness, bring some motion sickness pills. Water temperature in Belize is generally warm. For example, when I was there over Easter, the water temperature was around 82 degrees Fahrenheit or 28 degrees Celsius, and I just wore a 2 mil shorty. Also, if you do want to do other activities such as bird watching or jungle tours, the dry season is just a much more practical time to visit. The wet season can still offer good diving, but with that brings more uncertainty. So, for example, rain, wind, storms, and runoff can affect visibility, sea conditions, and boat schedules. So you just need to be more flexible in your itinerary. So that being said, if the Great Blue Hole is high on your list, it's worth checking with your operator's schedule before booking the rest of the trip. For us, the boat ride to Blue Hole was about 2.5 hours from San Pedro, and even though the weather was good, the ride was still a bit bumpy. So if you're really keen to dive the Blue Hole, I would recommend coming in the dry season when the risk of bad weather cancellation is just much lower. Before we move on, I just want to say thank you to our sponsor of this video, which is Sunbreeze Hotel in San Pedro on Ambergris Keys. This is where I got to stay during my recent trip. So as I mentioned, San Pedro is one of the main bases for diving in the Northern Barrier Reef area. Sunbreeze Hotel and its restaurant Blue Water Grill is located right in the heart of San Pedro. So this means I was always close to restaurants, the town, and just generally the waterfront. They also have their own 5-star PADI Center, Ambergris Divers, which sits just along a small pier. They offer diving, snorkeling, PADI courses, and inland tours as well. For me, it was perfect to have Sunbreeze as a practical accommodation base with diving right on my doorstep. So if you are planning to dive from San Pedro and want a comfortable, convenient base on Ambergris Keys, Sunbreeze is 100% worth checking out. So Belize has several distinct dive regions. The best place to base yourself depends on the type of diving that you want to do. So in the north, we have Ambergris Keys and Key Corker, which are the 2 most convenient bases. San Pedro on Ambergris Keys is where I was based. It is one of the main dive hubs of the country. From here, you can access the Belize Barrier Reef, Holchan Marine Reserve, Water Caye, Esmeralda Canyons, and do day trips further offshore. For the Holchan Marine Reserve, that is about a 15-minute boat ride from San Pedro. Holchan Marine actually means little channel in Mayan, which refers to the natural cut going through the reef. It's made up of mostly seagrass beds, small ridges, and some rocky coral outcrops. So there I saw a turtle, a couple of nurse sharks, and dense schools of snappers. And in the deeper sections, we even had an eagle ray that came round a couple of times. Our dives at Holchan Marine Reserve were around 60 feet or 20 meters, so it's a good place for recreational divers and newer divers as well. There's also a lot of light, so it's a popular spot if you are one to dive with a camera. Just next door is Water Caye. This is a shallow seagrass area around 15 feet, 5 meters. Historically, fishermen actually used to cast anchor there and clean their catch before heading back into San Pedro, so the wildlife learned to hang around. We came here during our surface interval, but many tourists actually visit during a snorkeling trip. Since there are nurse sharks everywhere, just remember to be calm at the surface and avoid crowding the animals. Even closer to San Pedro is Esmeralda Canyons. This site has coral ridges, sandy channels, which look like fingers from above. It's a good step up from sort of like those easier shallow reef dives. And among the coral ridges, there are some interesting swim-throughs as well. Across my dives there, I saw Caribbean reef sharks, nurse sharks, a few loggerhead turtles, groupers, moray eels, lobsters, and lots of other reef life. Further offshore, also not far from San Pedro, is Turneffe Atoll. This is Belize's largest atoll. With more than 70 sites, it's one of the country's most varied dive areas. It features everything from shallow coral gardens to more dramatic sheer drop-offs. The elbow is most known for its exposed conditions, dramatic drop-offs, strong marine life. We actually went to the Black Coral Wall, which was quite a steep wall, reasonably deep, beyond 40 meters. In there, we also visit the Wit, which is a massive 375-foot concrete ship intentionally sunk back in December 2001. Plenty of large openings, making it suitable for newly REC certified divers. Further east is Lighthouse Reef Atoll, and this is home to the Great Blue Hole and half Moon Caye. When I mentioned actually to other divers before I was coming to Belize that I was going to be diving the Blue Hole, I got some mixed reviews. Some said it was overrated and some said it was just like incredible. I genuinely thought it was truly amazing. The main attraction of it is the underwater structure and its topography. So I'm talking about the vertical walls, just like endless bottom blue pits. And then within the dive, you get to see some interesting stalactites and stalagmites. So this was actually really unlike any dive I had done, and that uniqueness is what made it really special for me. However, it was a 5 a.m. departure with quite a bit of a bumpy ride of 2 hours. Just click up here, you can read about the full day that I had. But I would say this, if you want to experience a very different kind of dive and you're comfortable at depth, then 100% go to the Blue Hole. After the Blue Hole, we visited Half Moon Caye, and this was a gorgeous contrast. It was a seagrass area that sloped off to a coral wall that was full of sponges, reef fish, turtles, Caribbean reef sharks, and just plenty of general coral life. So moving down to central Belize, South Water Caye Marine Reserve protects a long section of Barrier Reef. This is accessible from Dangriga, Hopkins, nearby cays and liverboards. This marine reserve includes reef wall, spur and groove formations, seagrass, rays, barracuda, turtles and sharks. Lastly, there's Glover's Atoll, also known for clear water, healthy corals, lagoon patch reefs, pinnacles and lots of outer wall diving. Divers usually visit this via a liverboard or an island resort in the area, since the transfers from the mainland are quite long. At Glover's, divers can expect to see sea fan, tube sponges, reef fish, eagle rays, and even occasionally dolphins. So as a general rule, I would say San Pedro and Caye Caulker are the best for sort of convenience and northern reef access. Turneffe Atoll and liverboards are best for dive-focused trips with more atoll access. So most international travelers will arrive via Philip S.W. Goldston International Airport of Belize City. So for Ambergris Caye or Caye Caulker, you can either take a short domestic hopper flight like I did, or a water taxi from Belize City. The flight is obviously a lot quicker and a lot easier, especially if you're with dive gear. The water taxi is cheaper, but it will take longer as well. For those southern bases, you can take either a domestic flight, a ranger shuttle, or travel by road. If you're heading to Turneffe Atoll, Glover's Atoll, a private island or a liverboard, check with the operator how it is they plan to get you there. So once you're in your dive base, most of scuba diving is done via boats. Trips to like the Blue Hole, Lighthouse Reef or Glover's Atoll often require longer boat rides with specific departure days, good weather, and these will have higher costs as well, such as park fees. If your goal is to see as much as Belize's offshore diving as possible, liverboards I would recommend is the best way to do that. So yes, of course, the Great Blue Hole is the star of Belize, but Belize has so much more to offer when it comes to scuba diving. And this is what makes Belize, in my opinion, such a strong dive destination. It's not just one iconic dive, it's full of Caribbean diving in one country.